Hi, Ebere. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Wonderful.
Yeah, you got some good news today. Do you want to share that with me?
I received a check from the D.C. government for over $3,500, which I paid but shouldn't have paid. However, they were coming after me unnecessarily because they believed that I owed them, and I ended up paying them because I didn't have the information in order to challenge them at the time, and they were threatening to destroy my credit.
Yeah, and actually I think that liability had actually come because they made a mistake on your 2005 and 2006 tax returns and treated you as having income when you didn't have any income in that year.
That's right.
Yeah, and I remember that you didn't want to deal with it, so you went ahead and sent them a check. But when I found out about it, I said, we're going to contest it. There's no reason why you should be paying that amount of money to D.C., and we contested it and wrote them a strongly worded letter, and you got your check yesterday.
And I got my check yesterday, and it couldn't come at a better time. It was wonderful, and thanks to your help and your input and conversations with them, I was able to receive those funds back, and therefore make myself whole again, as it were.
Yeah. You've had your share of dealings with auditors. You've also had an issue with the IRS audit as well for your, for the tax return for, I think that was the 2005 tax year. And I remember you started out with a tax liability of $22,000. But after you became my client and I represented you at that IRS audit, you actually only paid them $1,365. Do you want to talk more about that?
That's right. I guess for the better part of 2008 and most 2009 was spent dealing with this issue. I was audited for my 2005 tax year by the IRS, and they just would not accept the fact that I was a real estate investor and had a legitimate business. And I attempted to fight it initially on my own, but I decided that this was something I definitely needed to get my CPA in on, which is you, Ebere, of course. And having done that, I was able to address their issues, their concerns, and establish myself to them as a legitimate business, and then eventually solve this issue.
And one of the biggest things that I saw in representing you at the audit is how the IRS can be very intimidated. And you had actually come to the point where you had actually written them a check for $3,418 after the corrected audit. But when you called me and told me that you actually had mailed them a check for $3,418, I said there's no way you are going to pay them that money because you are a real estate investor and they should not make any adjustment on your tax return. And, even though you were not comfortable with it, I made you call the IRS auditor back and tell her that you were going to put a stop payment to that check and that she has not made all the adjustments that needed to be made. And, I'm sure you were surprised when you found out that she eventually made those adjustments and all you had to pay was $1,365.
Yeah, the person at the IRS, the lady who was handling our case, came across so not understanding, so mean-spirited, and so confident that I was a bit intimidated, and I wasn't sure if this issue was ever going to go away without going to court, and that's one thing I definitely wanted to avoid. So that's why I initially just agreed to the $3,400 because having come from the initial
$22,000, you felt that was a compromise.
That's right. I felt like that was good enough. But having you behind me definitely created a situation where I felt more confident in dealing with them, and especially having you directly in discussions with them as my personal representative. It definitely allowed me to feel more comfortable in fighting with the IRS.